Hi, I'm Nita Strauss, and we are at my home studio that we built out with GC Pro. Today, we are going to take a look at one of my demos, and I'm going to show you guys how I start to build out a song from the very beginning. This is a song called Summer Storm from my album, The Call of the Void. During the pandemic, we spent some time with my boyfriend's family in Louisiana. And it was during that summer that I experienced my first summer storm. I remember just sitting outside under the porch, thunder and lightning, shorts and t-shirt weather, just thinking how crazy it felt to be so comfortable and relaxed in the midst of all this chaos and, lightning striking and thunder shaking the house. And so that's where the inspiration for the title came, just being comfortable in the chaos. A fun little fact, actually the intro of the song, which is the intro of the whole record, you hear the actual summer storm, not from that first day, but from another day in the backyard in Louisiana. So what you hear right here is actually the sound that inspired this whole song. That was definitely one of those moments where inspiration just kind of struck. I knew how I wanted to start this song and what I wanted to play, so ran inside, plugged the guitar right in, pulled out the plugin. For this one, I used the Toontrack Easy Mix plugins. Kind of my go-tos are the Andy Sneap patches. So I started out with really pretty, kind of clean, bell-like, clean guitar sounds. And then when that song kind of slams in, I pulled up a patch called Addictive, which is kind of my go-to rhythm patch, and that's also part of the Andy Sneap collection. So usually when I'm composing, I personally am a very linear writer. I like to write starting at A and ending at Z. I know that a lot of really accomplished songwriters start at the meat and potatoes of the song, which is the chorus, and build everything to serve that, which makes more sense than the way I do it, but the way that my mind works, I begin at the beginning and then go through to the end. So I had this really pretty sort of lifting melody bringing you in, and then it gets heavy fairly quickly. And as you can see, not a whole lot changed from my demo to the final recording that's on the record. When I'm layering guitars, it's almost like a flow state. I think a big part of that comes with being in multi-guitar bands for so many years, especially almost a decade playing with Ryan Roxie and Tommy Henriksen, the Alice Cooper band. We just have this framework built out of how to layer 3 guitars on a very straightforward rock song and make it make sense. So that, and also so many of my major influences were bands with a lot of guitar harmonies like Iron Maiden or In Flames, that's just the way I think about guitars. So I definitely layer a ton of guitars. I always have multiple rhythm tracks, panned left and right, so they don't get too muddy, they don't step on each other too much. Multiple lead tracks. Some of the songs have a lead and then a counterpoint lead, and both of those have a harmony, and the rhythm has a harmony. The trick is just creating these really complex songs and harmony structures and still having it sound clean. So let me just move little mini me out of the way so I can see the tracks down here, and I can show you guys a couple examples of this. Here we have the pre-chorus of the song, and what you're really hearing, what you think you're hearing is this sort of high, which is this. Main lead, overthrow, lead extras, low lead, high harmony, low lead, low harmony. And even that, there's so much going on that you don't even realize you're hearing. Like these little guys here. And I have those also in my rhythm tracks. So if you listen to just the rhythms by themselves for that pre-chorus, so you don't even realize you're hearing a lot of that stuff, but it's just in there as little staccato parts to emphasize the different beats of the song. So even in the demo phase, what you might hear as a single solo lead guitar may not always be the case. So if you look at the chorus of this song, for example, and you have this line going on, I actually have a high harmony, the main line, and a synth, all backing that same line up. So again, it sounds like one cohesive lead guitar, but there's actually a lot going into making that tone. If there's any piano, it is me programming a bass. One thing I love to do is program MIDI. Just another thing that I find very meditative and fun to do. I don't like editing real drums, but I love doing MIDI drums. So you can see in my drum programming just how detailed I get. So my drummer boyfriend hates me for this because he always says, just give me the basic beat, like show me what tempo you want and let me fill in the blanks. And he always does do his own thing on it anyway, but I find it a lot easier to create when I'm playing over more interesting drums. So that's why I program such complex, weird drums. It's always interesting when you know who in the band writes the drums and who in the band writes the guitars. I toured with a band once several years ago where the drummer wrote a lot of the guitar parts, and you could totally tell because it was like, a guitar player would never write this. And I think that's how drummers feel about my drum programming because I don't actually play the drums. You know, I'll add cymbals that could never be played at the same time together, like a china and a ride sort of simultaneously. So it's a fun little break for me in the writing process and guitar playing process. And it gives Josh, who is always my drummer, a good sense of what I'm looking for stylistically that he then takes and makes his own. And on that same note, although I personally love getting nerdy in the MIDI and programming a bunch of stuff, Josh has no interest in getting on the computer and typing out a drum beat. So it's great to have something like this here. This is the Machine, which was another great GC Pro recommendation. And he can just come here and tap out the beat that he wants to reference later when he actually does play the song, without having to get in there and remember where on the piano roll the snare was and all that stuff. As far as bass goes, I actually will program that sometimes. There are, I think the plugin that I use is called Easy Bass, just like Easy Drummer. Otherwise, I will play real bass from time to time, but my bass playing skills are so rudimentary. It's really, I only play bass to serve whatever the guitar is doing. And I know bass is really more of a rhythm instrument. It should be in the rhythm section with the drums, and you should have someone with that sensibility. So even during the demo phase, when I am sort of in the zone, programming drums, layering keyboard sounds in the MIDI map, once it's out of the demo phase and I actually hand it off to Josh and Kat, who is my incredible keyboard player, that is when the song really starts to come to life and sound more polished and professional. One great thing about working with musicians that know you really well is they can tell what you need in a certain part without you having to explain it word for word. So in the case of this bridge, Kat, who is also my best friend, took these simple chords that I was playing and added this beautiful piano melody to it that just took it to the next level and made it sound all that much better. So here is the guitar, rhythm guitar by itself. I have chills just hearing it again. So again, you just can't, you can do a lot yourself, but you can't overstate the importance of working with other good musicians who share your vision and know what you're looking for and can help you elevate it to an even higher level. It's really rare, at least for myself, that I will play a song live before it's released to the public. And Summer Storm was one that we actually started playing almost a year ago on the Winter Wasteland solo tour that we did. And it was so cool seeing people's reactions to an instrumental guitar track that they had never heard before and had no frame of reference what it was supposed to sound like. And to see people digging it and getting that good reaction. So I think that is a really good milestone and hallmark for if you're going to have a good song or not, if people are hearing it for the first time in a live setting and they're getting into it. It's really amazing now, listening back to these demos. I haven't heard this demo since 2020. Probably, or 2021, when we actually went in studio and recorded the song for real. So to listen back to it with you guys today, it gives me this real sense of pride that I wrote something cool, we brought it into the real studio, put it on a record, and it didn't change very much. It's not like, hey, I had this idea and then I worked with producers and engineers and they took my idea and made it something else. This fun concept that I had in the chaos of my first Summer Thunderstorm became the song that kicks off this record. So that gives me a good sense of pride and accomplishment. On both the records that I've done, I feel like there's a song that perfectly captures who I am as a musician at the time that I made it. On my first album, Controlled Chaos, there was a song called Our Most Desperate Hour. And on The Call of the Void, that song is Summer Storm. I feel like this song is just where I am as an artist right now when The Call of the Void is coming out. So if I was ever going to show somebody what I do, this would be the song I would play them. So I'm so excited that it's going to finally be out to the world and that you guys are going to get to hear it. And I hope you love it as much as I do.